What's up, everybody? Dr. Mike here, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving deep into the fascinating world of the respiratory system. This system, often taken for granted, is responsible for one of the most vital functions in our body, breathing. We'll be exploring the ins and outs of this incredible system, from the moment you take a breath to how oxygen gets delivered throughout your body. Whether you're a student, a healthcare professional, or just curious about how your body works, this video is for you. So buckle up, get ready for some serious knowledge, and let's unlock the secrets of the respiratory system together. Alright, let's start with the basics. The respiratory system is like a complex highway system for air, with one-way roads and intricate interchanges. It's responsible for taking in oxygen, the life-sustaining gas, and removing carbon dioxide, a waste product of our metabolism. Think of your respiratory system as having two main parts, the upper respiratory tract and the lower respiratory tract. The upper tract is like the entry point, consisting of your nose, nasal cavity, pharynx, and larynx. This is where the air gets warmed, humidified, and filtered before it goes any further. Next up, we have the lower respiratory tract, which includes the trachea, bronchi, and lungs. The trachea, or windpipe, is the main airway leading down to the lungs. It branches off into two bronchi, one for each lung. And finally, we reach the lungs, the stars of the show. These are two spongy organs that house the alveoli, tiny air sacs where the magic of gas exchange happens. We'll delve deeper into that process in a bit. So, that's the basic roadmap of our respiratory system. Now let's zoom in and explore each stop along the way in more detail. Now that we've got a handle on the anatomy, let's talk about how this whole breathing thing actually works. You see, breathing is all about pressure changes within our chest cavity. When we inhale or inspire, our diaphragm, a dome-shaped muscle below the lungs, contracts and flattens. At the same time, muscles between our ribs contract, pulling the rib cage upwards. These actions increase the volume of the chest cavity, and as we know from basic physics, increasing volume decreases pressure. This decrease in pressure within the chest cavity creates a vacuum-like effect, drawing air in through our nose or mouth and down into the lungs. It's like sucking through a straw, but on a much larger scale. Exhalation or expiration is basically the opposite. The diaphragm and rib muscles relax, decreasing the volume of the chest cavity and increasing the pressure inside. This higher pressure forces the air out of the lungs, completing the breathing cycle. This constant cycle of inhalation and exhalation ensures a continuous supply of oxygen to our body and the removal of carbon dioxide. Pretty neat, huh? Let's give a round of applause to the lungs, the true workhorses of the respiratory system. These two cone-shaped organs are like giant sponges, filled with millions upon millions of tiny air sacs called alveoli. Imagine the alveoli as tiny balloons clustered together like grapes. These delicate structures are wrapped in a network of tiny blood vessels called capillaries. This close proximity between air and blood is crucial for gas exchange. As we inhale and oxygen-rich air fills the alveoli, oxygen diffuses across the thin alveolar walls and into the surrounding capillaries. This oxygenated blood is then whisked away by the circulatory system to be delivered to every cell in our body. At the same time, carbon dioxide, a waste product of cellular metabolism, travels from the capillaries into the alveoli. This carbon dioxide-rich air is then expelled from the body when we exhale. This continuous exchange of gases at the alveolar level ensures that our cells have a constant supply of oxygen to fuel their activities and that harmful carbon dioxide is efficiently removed. It's a beautiful example of form-meeting function in the human body. Let's put on our anatomy hats and take a closer look at the intricate structures that make up this incredible system. We'll start at the top with the nasal cavity, the first point of contact for inhaled air. The nasal cavity is lined with a mucous membrane that traps dust, dirt, and other foreign particles, acting as our first line of defense against invaders. The air is also warmed and humidified here, preparing it for its journey down into the lungs. Next, we have the pharynx, a muscular tube that connects the nasal cavity to the larynx. The pharynx plays a dual role in both the respiratory and digestive systems, serving as a passageway for both air and food. The larynx, also known as the voice box, sits at the top of the trachea. It contains the vocal cords, which vibrate as air passes over them, producing sound. So, next time you belt out your favorite tune, thank your larynx. From the larynx, air travels down the trachea, a flexible tube reinforced with rings of cartilage. These rings prevent the trachea from collapsing, ensuring a clear airway for air to flow in and out of the lungs. Finally, the trachea branches into two bronchi, one for each lung. These bronchi further divide into smaller and smaller bronchioles, forming a complex network of airways that resemble an upside-down tree. This intricate network of airways ensures that air is efficiently distributed throughout the lungs, reaching every single alveolus for optimal gas exchange. We breathe without even thinking about it. But have you ever stopped to wonder about the mechanics behind this vital process? It's a fascinating interplay of muscles, pressure changes, and lung elasticity. Let's break down the two main phases of breathing: inspiration and expiration. Inspiration, or inhalation, is the active phase of breathing requiring muscular effort. As mentioned earlier, the diaphragm, our main respiratory muscle, contracts and flattens during inspiration. This downward movement increases the vertical space within the chest cavity. Simultaneously, the external intercostal muscles, located between the ribs, contract, pulling the ribcage upwards and outwards. This expansion of the chest cavity decreases the pressure inside, creating a vacuum-like effect. This pressure difference between the atmosphere and the lungs forces air to rush in through the respiratory tract and into the lungs, filling the alveoli with oxygen-rich air. Expiration, or exhalation, is typically a passive process, meaning it doesn't require as much muscular effort. During expiration, the diaphragm and external intercostal muscles relax, returning to their resting positions. This relaxation decreases the volume of the chest cavity, increasing the pressure inside. This higher pressure inside the lungs forces air out through the respiratory tract and into the atmosphere, carrying carbon dioxide with it. And that, my friends, is the beautiful dance of inspiration and expiration, a continuous cycle that keeps us alive and kicking. Calling all nurses and aspiring healthcare professionals, understanding the respiratory system is crucial for providing top-notch patient care. Let's dive into some key concepts that are particularly relevant to nursing practice. First and foremost, you need to be able to accurately assess a patient's respiratory status. This includes monitoring their respiratory rate, rhythm, depth, and effort of breathing. Pay close attention to any signs of respiratory distress, such as shortness of breath, rapid breathing, wheezing, or use of accessory muscles to breathe. These could indicate an underlying respiratory issue that requires prompt attention. Understanding how to interpret arterial blood gas, ABG values, is also essential for evaluating a patient's respiratory function and acid-base balance. ABGs provide valuable information about oxygenation, ventilation, and pH levels. Nurses also play a vital role in educating patients about respiratory health, including the importance of smoking cessation, avoiding respiratory irritants, and maintaining good hand hygiene to prevent infections. From administering respiratory medications to providing oxygen therapy and managing mechanical ventilation, nurses are on the front lines of respiratory care. Your knowledge and skills can truly make a difference in the lives of patients with respiratory conditions. A picture is worth 1,000 words, and when it comes to understanding the complexities of the respiratory system, visual aids are invaluable. Let's explore some diagrams and illustrations that bring this system to life. First up, we have a classic sagittal view of the respiratory system. This view shows the entire system in profile, from the nasal cavity all the way down to the diaphragm. Notice how the trachea branches into the two bronchi, which further divide into smaller and smaller bronchioles, resembling an upside-down tree. This branching pattern ensures efficient air distribution throughout the lungs. Next, let's zoom in on an alveolus, the site of gas exchange. This microscopic view highlights the thin alveolar walls and the surrounding network of capillaries. Notice how closely the air in the alveolus is to the blood in the capillaries, facilitating the diffusion of gases across their thin membranes. We can also use diagrams to illustrate the mechanics of breathing. This animation shows how the diaphragm contracts and flattens during inspiration, increasing the volume of the chest cavity and drawing air into the lungs. Conversely, during expiration, the diaphragm relaxes, decreasing the volume of the chest cavity and forcing air out of the lungs. These are just a few examples of how visual aids can enhance our understanding of the respiratory system. So don't hesitate to refer to diagrams and illustrations as you continue your exploration of this fascinating system. All right, time to put on our lab coats and get some hands-on experience with the respiratory system. Lab exercises are a fantastic way to solidify your understanding of this vital system. One classic lab activity involves using a model lung to demonstrate the mechanics of breathing. By manipulating the model, you can see firsthand how the diaphragm and ribcage work together to change the volume of the chest cavity and draw air in and out of the lungs. Another insightful exercise involves measuring lung capacity using a spirometer. This device measures the volume of air a person can inhale and exhale, providing valuable information about lung function. You can also explore the microscopic world of the respiratory system by examining prepared slides of lung tissue under a microscope. This allows you to observe the intricate structure of alveoli and bronchioles up close and personal. For a more interactive experience, try dissecting a sheep pluck, which includes the trachea, lungs, and heart. This dissection allows you to explore the anatomical relationships between these vital organs. These are just a few examples of the many engaging lab activities that can deepen your understanding of the respiratory system. So, embrace the opportunity to get hands-on and explore this fascinating system in a practical setting. The respiratory and cardiovascular systems are like two peas in a pod, working together seamlessly to maintain the body's delicate balance. Let's explore the intricate relationship between these two vital systems. Think of the respiratory system as the delivery service for oxygen, while the cardiovascular system acts as the transportation network. The respiratory system ensures that oxygen gets into the body, while the cardiovascular system ensures that it reaches its final destination, the cells. Once oxygen diffuses from the alveoli into the surrounding capillaries, it binds to hemoglobin, a protein found in red blood cells. These oxygen-rich red blood cells are then pumped by the heart throughout the body, delivering oxygen to every cell. At the same time, carbon dioxide, a waste product of cellular metabolism, travels from the cells into the capillaries. This carbon dioxide-rich blood is then transported back to the lungs, where it diffuses into the alveoli and is exhaled. This continuous exchange of gases between the respiratory and cardiovascular systems ensures that cells have a constant supply of oxygen to fuel their activities and that harmful carbon dioxide is efficiently removed. Disruptions in either system can have significant consequences for the other. For example, a heart attack can impair the heart's ability to pump blood, reducing oxygen delivery to the body's tissues. Conversely, respiratory conditions like pneumonia can reduce the amount of oxygen that reaches the bloodstream, putting a strain on the heart. Understanding the interconnectedness of these two vital systems is crucial for diagnosing and treating a wide range of medical conditions. Hey there, future Ayurvedic physicians! As you embark on your BAMS journey, mastering the fundamentals of respiratory system anatomy is paramount. Let's break down some key concepts that you'll need to know. First and foremost, remember that Ayurveda views the respiratory system as a vital part of the pranavaha srotas, the channel responsible for carrying prana, the vital life force, throughout the body. The respiratory system is intricately linked to the doshas, the three energies that govern our physical and mental processes. Imbalances in the doshas can manifest as respiratory disorders. For example, an excess of kapha dosha associated with earth and water elements can lead to conditions like asthma and bronchitis, characterized by mucus accumulation. Understanding the Ayurvedic perspective on respiratory health involves recognizing the interconnectedness of the doshas, Agni, digestive fire, and the pranavaha srotas. In your first year of BAMS, you'll delve deeper into the anatomical structures of the respiratory system, including the nasal cavity, pharynx, larynx, trachea, bronchi, and lungs. You'll also learn about the physiological processes of breathing, gas exchange, and the role of the diaphragm and intercostal muscles. Mastering these fundamental concepts will lay a strong foundation for your future studies in Ayurvedic medicine, enabling you to diagnose and treat respiratory disorders effectively. That's it for our deep dive into the respiratory system. We've covered a lot of ground today, from the basic anatomy of the lungs to the complex physiology of breathing. I hope you found this journey through the respiratory system informative and engaging. Remember, this incredible system is working tirelessly every second of every day to keep you alive and breathing. So take a moment to appreciate your lungs and the vital role they play in your overall health and well-being. If you enjoyed this video and learned something new, give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe for more awesome medical content. Until next time, stay curious, stay healthy, and keep those lungs happy.